Oseo,
Hoseo.
wave the great feather. And Perez Pascua, today is known as Easter Sunday. And we're going to start right off with something with that. It's also, April is Poetry Month. It's Poetry Month. And yesterday at the Mission Hills Library, poets got together to celebrate, Poetry Month. And this was a reading. Claudia did this reading, and it's a Yaki letter poem. So that's what I'm starting off with. She wrote it. Dear Coyote, your dream path circles around your mind like smoke rings from a pipe. You walk about in your Yaki feet, weaving trails through coastal hills and river banks where wild seeds bed in native soil. Can you hear them calling you? The little maize and the little elote waving to you as an old friend. The mesquite and creosote warming your eyes and flaring your nostrils. The prickly pear and devil's claw grabbing your pant leg as you vulture along. Calling to you, Coyote! Hey, Coyote! Remember us? Your family? Your friends? Your life? Then, as you round the bend of your soul, Coyote melon pops up its head, beckoning you to taste it. As you touch it to your tongue, its bitterness forces you to spat on the ground, yelling, Yaqui-ya! Yaqui-ya! There you are rooted. There you awake. Here you remember. Yaqui-ya! Good. And that gives us an introduction into the theme today. Let me have a drink. This is the Yaqui Easter in the village of Guadalupe. The village of Guadalupe I'm referring to, or Yaqui, Guadalupe, is in Arizona. It's kind of in between Phoenix and Tempe. And it's also known to the Yaquis as La Cuarenta because it's a land grant of 40 acres, which also coincides, with the 40 days of Lent. So all those things fit together. And the Yaquis are also Mexicans. So we have actually are coming from Mexico. And on the United States part in Arizona, they came in as kind of refugees. They were being persecuted by the Mexican government at one time. So they were kind of refugees. And then they worked on the Arizona Water Project and the railroad and things like that. And Arizona was, quite an agricultural district a while back, for them. So all of that, and if you could go up here and look at this picture up here. Now, I collected this. I didn't paint this one, but I collected it because when I saw it, it reminded me exactly of the Teopo in Guadalupe. This is in Mexico because these are cut out paper flags. I don't know what they call them. I've seen them in Mexico. But in Guadalupe, instead of having paper flags like this, they actually have up here, paper flowers that are hanging, across the front of the temple. So that's all the way we're introducing this. I mean, it really does make me feel of the temple in Guadalupe. In Guadalupe, there are two buildings central there. One is the church, La Iglesia, there, and then next to it is the Teopo, meaning the temple or the house of saints. The Yaquis I would characterize as Catholic santos, saints. there, and the Tiopo is the house of the Santos, of the saints there. Now, how did I come to be in Guadalupe? Well, I can put it this way. As in Cherokee, Thunder Eagle is vision ancestor to me and helped me to become Coyote. In Yaqui, Juan Casillas is like ceremonial godfather, Bato Achi, to me, and over 20 or more years, definitely helped me to know very intimately the Yaqui ceremony or the Yaqui religion. And subsequently, if we could go down to this picture here, what we're looking at here is Comadre. This is me and Comadre Maria Alvarez. And Juan Casillas was the uncle to Maria Alvarez. And then over here is her daughter, Anita, and Anita with Claudia and one of her children. And Claudia and I became the godparents, baptismal godparents, or the padrinos, for two of her children, Bernal and Rosie. So that's how we have all this relation in here. And this very piece here, Comadre actually gave to me. I don't know if she made it, or anyway she put it together, because she put these photos in it. And on the back of it she wrote, "Recuerdo para mi comadre de parte de tu comadre Maria." So that is exactly, from her. And so in this way I feel that she is, present with us. Now if we can just go up here to this painting here. This is my painting. And what this is about is that one year there, we call it the ceremony, the Easter ceremony, and it's, the whole week, Semana Santa, which is what I titled this painting. And on this time, there was so much emotion. Everybody felt the emotion. Everybody had teary eyes. That's what I feel. And all of this feeling there. So while you're looking at that, it also gives me an opportunity to, say something about it. I'm an artist. I'm a painter. And this has something to do with that. In the Yaqui religion, which is like the old Mexican religions, in which the religion of Quetzalcoatl or the religion of Christ can be accommodated to a form of emotional expression that is not compatible with the gods of India and is definitely incompatible with Buddha. And here in my creation here, this is a mixture of the will to express and the will to attain. To bring this feeling, because the feeling, is invisible, and to make this visibility of that feeling. Or I call it, to express what no one possesses, but we feel it. So that's very central here for this. Other parts of the ceremony, very main part, if we can go over here to this drawing that I have made over here. This is, for me, a devotional piece I've made. One of the main societies, or the most central society in the ceremony, is the Costumbre. And the Costumbre have, three divisions. It's the Fariseos, and the Caballeros, and the Casidim. And they are very devoted, very, very passionate like that. And that's what I'm portraying here. This would be, as during the righteous part of the ceremony, the men are dressed in black here, and they wear a rosary that I have figured in this way, and it's the sacred cross and the vestimas, for that. So that's what that drawing is. Here. If you can come down here to this black cross, this black cross is, the Pharisae's cross here. And you will see this when there is, like a wake, like a funeral. In particular, it will be, there, or altar, whatever figures. And here I have a scorpion on it because of the passion in these men. I call it, a whip, whip a lash soaked with pain. His body and mind makes bloody rain. So the scorpion here is a way of saying that. Also, I should say the name Yaqui is more a Spanish name somehow in an odd way. The real name for the Yaquis is actually Yahemi. Now that's recognizable as Egyptian. Hemi is people, and Yohemi would mean the venerable people. That's the Egyptian. So among other things there, it is evident in this way that these people are descendants, at least, of the Egyptian Copts of the Mediterranean, and scorpion is one of those symbols from there. Now I'm going to go up here to this picture up here, this painting here, the Chassidim. The Chassidim, what I figured here, this is actually a mannequin of Judas in English, of Judas. It's a mannequin which has been, in every way attired like the men of the Hasidim look like this. They are regularly called the chapyekas, which means their leather nose. So everybody kind of calls them the chapyekas, like that. And if they're in the village that they find a burro, a little burro, they don't always have one, but in this case, in my painting, they have a burro here. And they march him on Saturday, they march him around the pueblo, like that. And so, eventually, during the Gloria, which was yesterday, they're going to set up this mannequin, Inua, and people are going to, this is the highlight for these men of this society and their godparents there. And it's very, very, very dramatic. And they're going to set this mannequin on fire, and as they do so, the men are going to take off their helmets that look like this, their rawhide helmets, and their swords, here are their swords, and they're going to, offer them into the fire of Judas, who is burning, and the smoke is going up to the sky, and then as they run with their godparents, into the temple, to the altar, to get there, ostensibly before the smoke reaches heaven. So it's very, very dramatic, like that. And if we drop down here with these that I put here, I lived in Michoacan. All over Mexico, there are passion plays, and there's all different versions of passion plays, and people have their own styles of masks and costumes. And so this is my oil painting here, and maybe it would be figuring, as a Ladino or a Roman, who knows, here. But this is a mask, and here is a wooden mask, like that. And in Mexico, masks are ubiquitous from the earliest times. And the way that these masks work, they're like attributes of qualities, and that they're mobile. They can be transferred around to, say, to different deities or something to that effect, since ancient times. So, one deity can change a shade of quality by having the mask of another deity, if that makes sense to you. So that's what, all of this is about here, in that way. And if we want to go up here, and here's another mask. Now this mask actually is from Guadalupe. This mask was actually in the ceremony one year, and the Pascola that passed it along to me, his brother carved this mask. So you can see in this case, this is a goat's mask, a goat's face there. And as you're, I should come over here when you're looking at this, from that over to this drawing here. Can you see that? So this is my drawing of a ceremonial dancer in this ceremony that's called as the Pascola or Pacola, like that. And he's wearing on his legs these cocoon rattles that he ingeniously dances and makes the rhythm, and these here are what those are. And these are cocoons that formerly were available out there in the desert of Sonora, but have become rare, very rare in recent years. But that's what we're looking at here. This is the Pascola dancer. And back up here to the mask, to see this I have going to go with it. He carves the mask, and this he sings. It eats a swelling, this root. He paints the face with soot, and this he sings, the black art, to grind food for the dance. He paints the eyes with red ochre, and this he sings. Mother of the anthill, with the red eyes, let evil not hurt us. He paints the cross and the skink, meaning on the side, with white snake shit, and he sings, to go on with the work, to draw the moon, let us be friends, carry on. He pulls the tail, the whiskers there. He pulls the tail, he makes the whiskers, and he sings, now you're strong, kill me, skin me, but save my bones. Now, sings the Pascola, the seed in the calabash is visible to this lizard. Now the lizard can see the seed inside this gourd. So, to give you some idea for the mask of the Pascola in this case, and it's very, 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 very ancient. The whole thing about him is definitely thousands of years old here. So that's one part there. If we come down here to this deer head, Claudia has made this deer head out of clay, spin-fired, glazed, and it is, sort of imitation that's derived from the actual deer head that the deer dancer wears, on top of his head, and he has the movement of this. Now, at the time that we were here, Leno was the son of Comadre Maria, and he was the deer dancer, because he was also a dancer in the ballet folklorico, and a dancer has to be the deer dancer. And I first knew of Leno over at Salt River, where I met Juan Casillas in the Pima Fair there. So this is Claudia's portrayal of that. Now Claudia had also learned all of the much of the deer songs from our compadre, who was a deer singer, and sometimes, some years, we have done it here, but this time I'm just going to read you as an idea of the poetry that is in the deer songs. Where are you standing in the wind? Dry grasses, straw, and shaking in the wind. Dry grasses, where are you standing? In the wind, dry grasses, straw, and shaking in the wind, dry grasses. There in the wilderness, the flower world, a pale blue cloud will be gray water at its peak. The mist will rain down on the flower ground, and shining, reaching bottom where you are, where you are only standing in the wind, dry grasses, straw, and shaking in the wind. So here you can see that the deer songs are just the most beautiful poetry. Now at this point I have to introduce something else. One year the whole Yaqui troop was invited by the Museum of Man, and we lived adjacent in Balboa Park. We lived adjacent to Balboa Park, and that we knew these people. They were from Tucson. And the whole troop of the deer dancer and the pascola dancers and the deer singers and the harpists, all of them, all 16 of them. And they stayed at our house. They stayed at our house. Our house was big enough that people slept everywhere. And they left things, you know, with us. And that's one thing I'm introducing at this time. You can see this. This is, you know, a rasp. It is to go with the deer songs, and I'm not a person talented for it, but and these rest on a gourd on the ground, so that you have more volume to it. And what it is, it's in the music, it is the breath of the deer. And there's also a water drum that is a gourd in a pail of water that, you know, boom, 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 is the heartbeat of the deer, like that. So here I'm showing, you know, this made of this hardwood, and of course in the lore of the deer singers, when they're done, they take this out in the desert and it crawls away like a snake. So you get the idea for that, you know. So I have brought as many of these artifacts together to celebrate, you know, this Easter Sunday in the style of the Yaquis, you know. Now, in the village of Guadalupe, there are crosses everywhere, all kinds of crosses, and they have definite terms for them. So down here, I'm introducing another cross. In this case, this one is Mayan. This is a foilated cross. And all this is related. Now, the Yaquis had, you know, not of their own choice, but they did spend some time in Yucatan, and they made it all the way back to northwestern Mexico, the Rio Yaqui. But they did bring things with them that are also recognizably Mayan, where I spent some time there in Yucatan also. So here, this is, you know, rather than Yaqui, this is more Mayan, and this is a foilated cross. In the Mayan, the sacred tree, the ceiba tree, is called, you know, Yaesche. Che is tree. Yaesche means sacred tree. But this one is, you know, Yuhomche, meaning the tree that awakens us, that wakes us up. It's a tree of enlightenment. Or it can say, first there was the tree. And here in the center of it, you see this face. This is actually a Totonac around Veracruz, and I put this in here. This would be Baal Che. Now, if you heard with the Christian fundamentalists, those kind, you know, they've taken this word Baal and they've kind of made something very negative out of it. It's a Phoenician or Hebrew word, Baal, kind of meaning Lord, you know, or something to that effect. They have separated it from Baal Che, meaning this is the Lord of the tree. So that's what we're looking at here. And the tree is the cross, and the cross is also called, you know, the redeeming wood, or salve madera. And down here, this is to simulate a leopard, you know, the panther or leopard, which means the earth. That's a symbol of the earth. Now, in the Yaqui ceremony, these men here, especially these men here, they're carrying wooden swords. And all the time you're hearing that. So you're hearing the wood. They talk to each other, like this. And at one part, during the Gloria Saturday, all of these men will, through alternate lines, you'll be clicking their swords on each other's sword, like that. So this is the wood, the salve madera, the wood that redeems. So rather than, in this case, having the tree, or the cross that's the tree, it talks like this. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the gleaming wood. It's the tree. It's the tree. It's the tree in later times where my Jesus died. That's what he said. The tree marvelous. Dichoso marveloso. And let's see. Another reading here. Let's see, where should you focus on here? Anything. You focus on anything. So this is in the ceremony, and in this part of the ceremony is the ramada. And it's in the ramada where these dancers of the deer in the Pensacola are. And during this kind of ceremony, Easter, like that, there's a big egg. It's made a big paper egg, and they're, incubating. They're watching the egg, there through the night and through midnight. So this reaches a high point. Media noche en Guadalupe, cuando es capturado de el animal, vive una temporada en el corazón de ello. Meaning here at midnight is when the animal is captured, and for a brief moment, I lived in the heart of it. At just such an hour, the mist walks, the fire and wind move. My body is silently erect. Estoy con los viejos mirando. I am with the old men watching. Escucha, escucha, here. El Pascola barks, clouds in his teeth, waves a moving tongue to wet his mouth opening. The deer jostle in the brush. Uno de ellos, one of them looks back to the ramada. Ahora la luna está alta. The moon is high now. El rey es vivo. The king is old. So this at midnight is when everything changes. The tempo of everything changes. And now the songs coming out of there from the flute player and so forth, they will change. And then we're going to go through the AM hours, hour by hour to the dawn. So we have all of that taking place there. And then finally we should say here, down here is an image for what we're calling the national patron of Mexico, called, the Virgin Guadalupe. And this picture is made it on a ceramic roof tile, which I really, really like. And here she's turned blue. She used to have bright colors. And we can go up here to this piece that I have procured here as a called Virginette. And here all the plenty, and this here is a cornucopia. So the cornucopia is the shape of the country of Mexico. Anahuac is its own old name. And here is the bounty of Mexico here with the Virginette here. And ever famous are the roses, with her. So let me do this little piece with that. Put forth my hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. His cross is the living tree, forever blooms in this eternal patio. Savor the Savior Jesucristo. fruit everlasting of that true tree, where there he offers up his flesh and blood, for our meat indeed, and our drink indeed. Through that gate guards this flaming sword. His body in the garden grows and grows. La señal de la Santa Cruz, a response eternal of his presence and participation in the agony of all living creatures. La señal de la Santa Cruz, face to face, body to body, blood to blood. Man meets his Maker in this image of mutual sacrifice. At one moment, Padre Dios, his life aims to be born, birthing forth his eternal seed. I am his son, born in me. Oh. So one last thing we could say here, back to me. Well, by all means, we have to have the flowers in there. So much, the flowers are figuring in all of this. Now, mentioning again, Juan Casillas, over a period, I'm just saying 20 years or so, year to year, he informed me, he guided me, and so forth. And when he was going to leave, he came to me, and he presented to me a little Pascola mask. This is not that mask, but it is like that mask. The difference is the one that he presented to me has a red eye. And in that he said, this one is more balanced than the others, meaning the other Pascola masks, like that. Juan Casillas also danced as the Pascola. He also danced as the deer. And when he had passed on, Comadre took us to the Campo Santo to find out where he was interred. And there, his gravesite, had roses planted, in it. And I had just known to bring a plastic jug of water from Comadre's to water the roses. And the piece that someone had made for his, how does it call it, gravesite, was, painted, like these swords, and it said something of El Rey, like here is the king. So that's my finale here for Feliz Pascua in Guadalupe.